Hi, everybody. Today's October 3rd, 2023, and this starts our webinars on software operations. Our first webinar presenter is FieldHub. I'll be introducing Miles Fawcett in just a second. You can see his handsome face on the screen already. So I have to say that I didn't give much thought to software, which is sort of funny because my whole operation, my law practice operates and depends on software. And I guess it's the kind of thing that as long as it's working, you're not giving it too much thought. It's when it doesn't work, you go crazy. I know I do. I spend more time trying to fight with my computer and my software than I do with actually practicing law, I think. Anyway, so software, of course, is vital. Those of you that are attending the webinar, I assume already know that, which is one of the reasons that you're here. You do have choices in the industry, and that's what this webinar series is all about. Getting introduced to all the different choices that you do have, and maybe one fits better than another, and that's what we're going to find out. So hold your, put your questions in the chat room, and I will see them, and that we'll be giving them to Miles at the end of his presentation, as long as he takes. Hopefully we'll be all done by 1 o'clock. Any of you who missed this or want to see it again, or you want to tell someone about it, all webinars are being recorded. It takes a couple of days to upload them, but they will all be accessible on YouTube, and you can access them on the K&K website under the webinar page. And let's get started, because I've already talked more than I'm supposed to. So Miles, take over.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Ken, you can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So my name is Miles Fawcett. I'm the founder and CEO of FieldHub. My background was in software development. I started a security integration company in Washington, D.C. called Urban Alarm in the mid-2000s. Having that software development background, I was immediately thinking about how to use software to solve a lot of the challenges in growing a security integration business. Started building FieldHub in the late 2000s, had the opportunity to sell Urban Alarm in 2017 and shifted my focus completely to FieldHub, which we'd been building for years. Preceding that, we ramped up our team, and here we are. We've been out of beta for a few years, and we've been migrating people over to FieldHub from the industry. So I'm going to go through an abbreviated introduction of the functionality of FieldHub. I'm going to kind of try and stay high level, getting into some details that are differentiators. And then I'm going to talk about our pricing and process. So here we go. Everybody should be able to see my screen at this point. So what is FieldHub? FieldHub is an all-in-one system. It supports CRM, sales process, lead management, sales and proposal creation, so creating complex proposals in FieldHub that pull in documents from various resources, data sheets, brochures, delivers those proposals to customers. Project and process management. What's a process? It could be a proposal review process. It could be an installation process, a permitting process, account termination process. So all of those processes, there's a framework in FieldHub to manage those. Full scheduling and dispatching, a strong field tech mobile application, which we're going to review, warehouse inventory management from purchase orders, receiving, returning, staging, installing, all of those functions, and everything's built on a very strong general ledger accounting foundation, which is at the kind of foundation throughout FieldHub is that accounting. The accounting is optimized and is particularly strong with recurring revenue, billing automation, recognition. So we're doing the deferred revenue recognition. If you invoice a customer annually, FieldHub is going to recognize the first period, defer the others, and then it's going to recognize those additional periods over time. The reports and dashboards you'd expect from a comprehensive enterprise accounting system focused on recurring revenue, field services and those components, and then a customer portal. So what does a typical FieldHub customer look like? We have customers in the US and Canada. They have from 5 to over 200 users. They come primarily security and fire integrators, installers, some AV, some other low voltage electrical, and some line voltage electrical. They've moved over from a variety of different industry and general software applications, and an implementation generally is a 90-day process. So why do people choose FieldHub? Why is it the best choice for most companies in the industry? It's completely integrated, so that seamless general ledger, vendor management, work order management, inventory, all in one place. It automates a lot of the recurring billing, recognition, collection process. And the mobile application for field technicians is a natively compiled mobile application on both iOS and Android. So it's fully functional as technicians move in and out of data service. It's a very stable application. It works well to connect the field with the office for tracking time for job costing and payroll, for installing material, for getting customer sign-offs, for accessing information about the system stored on site. Very responsive customer support. So 90% of the issues are resolved within days. The rare occasion that we need to do a patch to our software to address an issue, that happens often within days, sometimes faster, maybe sometimes within a week, but it's a very responsive customer service. We're industry focused, so we're completely focused. Not only are we focused on the security industry, but myself and many of our team members came from the security industry. So the team, our implementation and project management team, has been in security company operations, and they understand that business. FieldHub is cloud native. It's built from the ground up as a cloud-based application with a focus on strong computer science concepts, cybersecurity foundation. So it's a very modern framework and application. We have flexible integration. So in addition to having a number of integration partners, we also have a REST API that's very comprehensive, and we're always expanding. And on our enterprise plan, our customers also have direct access to their data using an ODBC data source. So what's the outcome of this? Well, some feedback, and I'll share some feedback throughout the process from customers, is that it's often the best choice they've made, certainly around their software, in operating their business. So I'll let that quote speak for itself. So here's a snapshot of the functionality of FieldHub. Here we have a sales dashboard. We can see immediately a backlog of our installation revenue, backlog of our RMR that's been sold but not yet turned on, a number of reports that are RMR focused that help us understand our RMR, grow our RMR. Here we have a sales pipeline dashboard, and this user is logged in and they have a portfolio of opportunities that they're managing. Opportunities become proposal as we add scopes of work. We have a lot of flexibility in how those scopes of work can be organized. Multiple scopes can be a part of our proposal. Scope can be organized by groups. We can pull scopes from one or multiple templates to build out scopes of work quickly. A couple different ways to price those scopes. What level of detail we want to show the customer. So show them line by line detail and pricing, no detail at all, a lot of flexibility there. Presenting the proposals to the customers, either as a PDF or inviting the customer to the portal where they, with one click, they're logged into the portal, they access their proposal, and they notify the salesperson that it's been accessed. So we're going to log the fact that they accessed it every time they access. While they're taken directly to the proposal, here you can see they are in the portal where they have access to invoices, card on file, documents, which your team has shared with the customer. Portal, of course, will have your logo. And for project or property managers, they can switch between all of the accounts that they have permission to access. It's an example of a dashboard. In this case, it's a sales dashboard. We have a number of dashboards that are designed to just be put up on a projector or on a monitor. You set it up once at the beginning of the week, of the month, and just leave it, and it'll auto refresh every few minutes. A great resource to provide real-time information to the team who needs it. In this example, we have a sales dashboard. So sales team comes in, they can see how they're doing against their peers, where they're getting their leads from, wins and losses. Not only important management information, but also something to kind of gamify it and get the sales team competitive about getting their numbers to where they're in the lead. So this is one view of our project management or workflow engine. In this example, we have kind of a traditional Kanban style view where a process is broken down into phases. You and your team with our assistants can configure these flows. So what are the sequence of phases? What are the branches? From what phase can I go to which? Are there any required or optional checklist items that need to be completed before moving to the next phase? Who is it assigned to by default? Is there a next action date or a due date associated with this card? So each of these cards, in this example, we're looking at low voltage electrical permits. Each of these cards is a permit in the process. So we can see where it is in the process. We can drag and drop these cards. We can click on them to drill into detail. Again, we can see, well, from this phase, what phases can we go to? Who is it assigned to? Who's following it? So maybe I'm not involved in this process, but I want to follow it so that I receive a notification every time an activity happens on this particular permit process. Everything's going to be logged. And in addition to a permit process, this could just be an installation. It could be an account termination process. Could be a credential process where we have access control credentials. It's assigned to somebody to validate format and sequencing, assigned to somebody else to remote program, to deliver to the customer, and for QA. So it really can be anything that you can imagine, and it takes just 2 or 3 minutes to set up a flow. So here we've gone from a proposal, we've converted that proposal into a work order, or maybe possibly multiple work orders. We have some basic information about the work order. We can see a snapshot of how much time we've spent, how many visits, job costing summary. All of these tabs are specific to the work order, and you can define as many work order types as you like, which gives a tremendous amount of flexibility, because these work order types are not just used for filtering, but they also flow down to the general ledger for financial reporting. So you can run a P&L on your fire test and inspect operation, or on your service operation, or on your commercial or residential install, all depending on how this is structured going into the process. Work order types can also be internal. So if you're doing NICET training and certification or manufacturer training, you can create an internal work order for that project, and we can track all the hours the tech spend on that certification and what that's costing the company. So it's a really useful resource in that way. Here we have the scope that came over from the proposal. The original scope is what was converted from the proposal. Revised might include any changes or estimated overages since it was converted, what's been received from vendors, staged, installed, and invoiced. So we're tracking it all the way through this process. All of these tabs are specific to this work order. So there's a tremendous amount of information about every work order, every project, whether it's an on-site service visit, remote data change, or new install, from images of work being done, time reports, checklists that have been completed, and details of the financials as well. So we click in there, we can see detail of the job costing. What was the original estimate and margin, any revisions to that estimated margin that happened from the time it was converted from a proposal, where we are to date, what's remaining. And if on this work order type, we're doing WIP or deferred revenue-based accounting, we can see that accumulate here in real time. So scheduling and dispatching, again, we have work order types. We can create different scheduling profiles. And this allows us to schedule just install for a particular office, or just fire test and inspect. Each of these filters will show just those work orders and just those technicians that are tagged to be able to do that type of work. And tags can be skill-based, they can be function-based. And of course, technicians could show up on multiple scheduling boards. Maybe they do both service and install, both fire and security. Here we have the details of an account. So we've taken a step back out. We're looking at the account information. Here we can see some summary information about the account, the financial history of this account. So total RMR, deposit on file, lifetime revenue, open AR. We can see their current activity, open work orders, open service visits. And on this opportunity tab, we can see their pipelines. So what proposals do they have in the pipeline? What's the status of those proposals? Again, so a full picture, and this is a real advantage of a fully integrated system, of a customer's kind of historic financials, current projects, and sales pipeline all in one place. FieldHub is a full and very effective inventory and warehouse management system. We have a process that customers can use in totality, or they can modify this and use a process that's specifically effective for what they're doing. Material might start with a material request. So a project manager or management can request all the material for a project or a subset of the material for a project. Often they would break up those requests into pre-wire, various phases, fit out. Those would be different material requests. Requests go to the warehouse. The warehouse can then pull it from inventory, create purchase orders to receive material. Warehouse or purchasing create purchase orders at the end of the day across many material requests and across many projects. So a single purchase order goes to ADI at the end of the day for all of the projects where we source from ADI. The warehouse then stages that material. So staging the material is the process of reserving it for a particular job. Maybe it's going into bins, maybe it's going onto pallets. FieldHub is going to generate a label for that staged material. So material goes in a bin, FieldHub generates a label, we put the label on that bin. When the technician comes in using the FieldHub mobile app, they can scan this label, view the material that's in that bin, accept possession for that material, and then install that material at the job site. Management can see for any project, has material been requested? Is it on order? Is it in the warehouse? Has it been staged? Does the technician have it? And if they have it, have they installed it or not? And all of that information is going to be available in real time. So some feedback from one of our customers on the warehouse management. It's flexible in how it can be set up, and whether you want to use a staging process or not, whether you want to use a request process or not, it's going to depend on the size of your organization, having dedicated warehouse staff. Feedback is certainly that the staging process is key to making sure that technicians are taking responsibility for their material, because the technicians review the material they're accepting possession of, they take possession of it, and then they have to install it. So we can see, does a technician have it and have they installed it or not? So it's an effective process. So let's jump over to the mobile application. Again, I'm going to kind of cover just a dip into different functionality in the mobile application. So the FieldHub mobile application, we're natively compiled on iOS and Android. It means that it performs well. It's very efficient on battery usage. It means that it works offline as well as online. It's not a web app. It's a local mobile app like you'd be using for any other for Gmail or any of those types of applications. So it works as technicians move out of data service. A technician could start the morning online, view their schedule, leave data service, spend the day offline, and then come back online at the end of the day, and they would still be able to do 90% of the functions that the mobile app can support, and certainly all of the critical functions. If there's a function they can't do, they'll get a message saying this is not available when you're offline, so it's very efficient. Technicians can access project details, including PDFs and documentation. Their time tracking is going to go to job costing as well as to payroll export files. So we do not run payroll within FieldHub, but we have a number of different payroll export files. So payroll can be prepared in FieldHub, including PTO, including bonuses and commissions. All of that can be prepared in FieldHub so that it tracks down to the accounting. And then we generate export files for a variety of different payroll providers. The mobile app tracks the movement of materials. So from picking up material in the warehouse to installing it at the customer site, that's all tracked. And through the mobile app, we're going to capture checklists. That could be a project completion checklist, a training checklist, a customer approval, or a project sign-off, either from the customer or from the technician. So here, the mobile app, we're looking at an example. I mentioned the label that we generate for the staged material. The technician scans that barcode. This comes up. They can see all the material that FieldHub says is in that bin. It's then their opportunity to review that material and say, yep, it matches. I'm accepting possession of this material. We want that accountability so that the technician becomes responsible for that material. If something goes missing, we know where it was in the process. And if it's not installed, we know that, and we know that it needs to be returned into the warehouse, into inventory. Techs can view their schedules, who they're working with, where they're going, work to be done. They check in, whether they can check into travel, they can check into the job. They can notify the customer, or FieldHub can be configured to automatically notify the customer when a technician is en route by email or text if that customer opts into text. So here they're tracking their time, their breaks. We're timestamping this. Technicians can access details about the project site. So customer contacts, all the work to be done, history of work done on this project, site details. Site details might include inspection, schedules and documentation, systems, system devices, central station associations. Technicians will capture photos of their work and notes associated with those photos. Again, it's a local app, so they can attach photos from within the application, or they can attach them from the gallery, photos they've already taken. They can attach one photo, they can attach dozens of photos all at one time. It's very efficient and easy to use. Manage material. So technicians, of course, can install material. If they have material in a staged kit, they can install it from there. If they have material in their truck stock, they can install it from their truck stock. We're going to track those movements. If they install something, they can add to the scope of work. So if something is omitted from the scope of work, they need to add a power supply from truck stock, they can do that. If it's a service visit and they're installing something which was not originally on the bill of materials, they can add that to the scope of work, track that installation. That will adjust the inventory counts. It'll recognize the expense either to WIP or to expenses, depending on how your expense recognition is configured. They can complete checklists, and checklists are a generic term for forms in FieldHub. A checklist could be a checklist, it could be a customer sign-off. We can specify which customer contact is completing this. We can have checklists, we can have text fields, and we can have photos. So some people will have a project completion, and it'll say, take a photo of the panel open, take a photo of the panel closed. Each of those will be different fields, and it'll all come through in a structured fashion. And then technicians can check out of a job. When they check out, is there more work required? If so, describe what's required, estimate the time that's required. All of that information is going to flow back into the web interface as soon as they check out, assuming they're online. If they are not in data service, when they check out, it'll sync up as soon as they come back into data service. And at this point, we can see their check-in times. Everything is geo-stamped, so technician checks out at 8 p.m. We can see, okay, they were at the ADI PAT room for the next day. That makes sense, but we have those details. We can see, so here's the site information, and FieldHub focuses a lot of the information management around this site. Here we have a media gallery, so all of the photos that any of our technicians have captured at that site are available, filterable, chronological. Scroll back and see what the walls looked like 5 years ago when we did the pre-wire. Site account history. So you can see this site has actually a primary account and has a secondary account. A site can have multiple account associations. And here on the account history tab, we can see that there was a builder here that used to be associated with the site, but is no longer associated with the site. So important from experience, we go to a site, we install material, we track history and track notes, and it's important that all of that history and all of that information move with the site, whether it's moving from a builder to an owner, whether we have an owner and a tenant associated with this. In addition to keeping all the history together, this also lets us bill improvements or installations to a builder, and then install any recurring to the tenant, and manages all of that in a cohesive and logical way given our industry. Notes or flag notes about the site, media galleries, material installed, systems. So drilling into systems here, we have information about the system, one or multiple central station associations. Why would you want multiple central stations? Well, maybe we're migrating from one central station to another, and we want to keep all of those records and all of that history. Inspection and maintenance schedules. You can have as many inspection maintenance schedules as you like. Define different types. Define whether or not a schedule, auto creates a work order, a pending work order when it's due, or whether it just shows up on a report as inspections due next month. We currently have integration with affiliated monitoring, and we're adding others. And so what does that allow us to do? It allows us to create an account at affiliated or at your central station from within FieldHub, pulling an account and site information or linking it if there's an existing account. We can then view the zones in real time at the central station, view contacts in real time at the central station, and view tests in real time. We can also create tests from within FieldHub at the central station, so create the test. We have the test, we can clear the test. From within FieldHub, we can activate and deactivate all the accounts, so we can keep those synced up. And with one click, we can jump right over to the central station, in this case affiliated, to their management portal to the specific account that's linked. So it gives us a quick way to jump into that account. So this is new. We launched this over the summer, and we're already getting some nice feedback. So feedback from a customer saying that creating the central station account from within FieldHub is just 2 clicks, super quick and easy. They don't have to switch between different software, and that it's had a material improvement to their customer service, their customer satisfaction, and even, I think more significant in some ways, is to employee satisfaction. So we're back at our work order. We have information about the work order, the time we spent, everything here that we saw before. Now it's time to convert this to an invoice. So I'm going to kind of skip a lot of the processes, but I want to focus in on the recurring revenue. If we have recurring revenue on a work order, when we create that invoice, we're going to set up that recurring in bill groups. If this was new recurring, we would just set up the first bill group, specify the quarterly, monthly, annually, semi-monthly, or semi-annually. Is it, when's the next bill cycle? And FieldHub would normally bill out recurring every night, but some customers, certainly, especially ones coming from some legacy software that don't support that, they might want to cycle bill or bill out recurring once or twice a month. So in this example, we have an existing bill group with recurring. We drag and drop and add this new recurring to that existing bill group. FieldHub is going to say, you're adding a start service with a start date of this. That's 8 days before the next billing date. What do you want to do with those 8 days? We can just not bill it at all. We can bill a prorated amount now. We can add the prorated amount to the next invoice, or bill the full cycle now. So you can see this is particularly useful if we have a cloud access system that we're billing annually. Halfway through the year, we add 5 doors, and we can just go ahead and bill those 5 doors now, the prorated amount for the remainder of the year. And then going forward, it'll all sync up and the recurring invoices will be consolidated. When an invoice is generated, FieldHub automatically kicks off a collection process. So the invoice is generated, FieldHub is going to send an email out with a link to the invoice to the customer through the portal. When the customer clicks on that link, it's going to change the status to received. It's going to log the fact that the customer accessed that information. We support multiple collection automation sequences. So you can set a default on a per account basis. In this example, we're going to send the customer a link to the invoice. We're going to send them a reminder. And if they don't open either of those links, then we're going to generate a paper-based invoice. We're going to go on to do the same thing with statements. FieldHub will generate a link to the statement. If the customer doesn't open that statement electronically after a certain number of days, we'll generate a paper-based statement. The paper-based invoices and statements, they can be a batch file to your office if you want to print and mail it from the office, or they can go to a third-party partner to print, fold, and mail. If this customer is using bill.com, or for whatever reason they need a PDF attachment as a part of their invoice package, then we can choose that as the default collection sequence for that customer, or bypass electronically altogether. But this gives us the ability, as we're transitioning over to electronic invoices, to send out those electronic invoices, but if they're not being opened and our customers owe us money, we can roll into paper-based invoices until we get them to change their behavior. So when a customer receives that link to the invoice, by the way, let me add one other thing here. So for recurring, FieldHub is going to follow the same type of a sequence. FieldHub is going to generate the recurring invoice. If that account is configured for ACH or card on file, FieldHub will charge that account or ACH. FieldHub will apply those payments. It'll monitor the status of the ACH. So if that ACH fails or bounces after a few days, FieldHub will unapply that payment, flag it, and kick off the collection process. So for recurring, FieldHub generates recurring invoices every night, charges. If it's not set up for auto charge or the charge fails, emails the customer a link to the invoice, emails a reminder, generates a paper-based invoice, link to the statement, and then a paper statement, and all of that's automated. Nobody does anything. Nobody in your office has to take any action. FieldHub is just doing that every night. And if the customer has a credit card that's expiring, FieldHub will proactively email the customer, your credit card is expiring. It'll have your text that you configure. Click a link to the portal where they can update their card on file. And then we have multiple credit card and ACH gateway providers, some of which provide auto updating on the credit card. So that's an option as well. So here we've generated the invoice. The customer clicks on that link in the email. It automatically logs them back into this portal that'll have your logo, takes them directly to the invoice, logs the invoice as having been received. So the customer says, well, I never got the invoice. Say, well, we saw you opened it. From here, they can pay with card or ACH on file. They can access a PDF of the document. Invoices are going to be very explicit about proration periods. So again, we want to kind of provide as much information, and we're doing the proration. So they're going to see this is the service, this is the date range, this is the amount per month, and this is the total. We want to address those questions before they come up. An example of a general ledger entry, really just illustrating FieldHub is built on a very powerful general ledger. It's tag-based, so at the GL level, we have references to invoice, accounts, work orders, proposals, sites. All of these are reportable points of information. And we're going to recognize the current period of recurring. We're automatically going to defer deferred recurring. And then FieldHub is going to automatically create those future general ledger entries to every month to recognize an additional portion of that deferred recurring revenue so that all of our accounting is GAAP compliant and all of that's automated. As part of being an accounting system, full set of financial reports. In addition to this, we also work with industry partners like Astute Financial, who provides their own sets of financial reports and kind of bank compliant reports. But these financial reports are clickable, so you review P&L, you want to drill into a number, you're going to get a detail of the general ledger backing up that number, and then comprehensive reporting that we're always adding to in other areas of field management, recurring revenue, and such. And then custom reporting. So this is a feature that's limited to our enterprise plan, but it allows for custom query building, filtering. So people, if your team has expertise in SQL, they can write SQL, but our tool allows them to totally avoid SQL, and they can just do visual joins, visual filters, summaries, get some ad hoc reports, or create kind of full-on BI style dashboards. We're not going to drill into it for the sake of time, but FieldHub has full vendor management. So vendors generating purchase orders, recording expenses, bills, managing payments, generating check printing as well, returns. We can see we have overpayments, vendor credits. So we're handling all of the common functions of we return something to ADI. Is that a credit? Is it a replacement? Is it a refund? So all of those scenarios are covered. Also in accounting, full kind of bank rec, data imports. So importing data from your bank or your credit card company, that data can be imported, matched to existing transactions, and then of course reconciled. So the general banking functions you'd expect. We have standard service levels in our contracts. Just to give you a sense, we have a standard plan and an enterprise plan. So at the, even contractually, in theory, we have 3 business days for standard support issues. Experience is that generally those are responded to next day if they're early in the day, or sorry, same day for issues early in the day or next day. So we're very responsive. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're getting feedback like this from the industry. And then from our customers, So we're having really positive feedback from our customers. Let those speak for themselves. And I think some of the reason why that is because we are a success-driven company. We are not a sales-driven company. We will work with a prospect, spend the time to make sure it's a good fit, to make sure that expectations are clear, and then only then will we move forward with an implementation. So if somebody comes to us and said, "Great, we're ready. Sign us up. Here's my money. We'll put on the pause button here," and we'll always start with a sandbox pilot. So for us, this is a very important part of validating the decision that FieldHub is a good fit. It's an important part of the training, of the change management for your organization, is to bring key members of your team into the process. And during the pilot sandbox period, you will have your own dedicated FieldHub environment. You will have a project manager or trainer that you'll work with on the FieldHub implementation team. They will deliver that sandbox, they will do training, and then do weekly check-in meetings so that you run through scenarios and provide like lists of ideas of scripted scenarios. So you run through a scenario and you come back to that meeting saying, how do we do retainage? These kinds of questions, getting into the weeds. Maybe it's different in FieldHub, and in fact, I'm sure it's different in FieldHub how you would do some of these things. So we want to make sure to answer all of those questions, that it's a good fit. At the end of that pilot, if it's a good fit, then you sign off and we move forward with an implementation. This is generally a 90-day process. It can be longer if you have a lot of integrations that need to be addressed, or if it's a particularly busy time of month. Right now, we're booked up through the end of the year. And then after you go live, you continue to work with a project manager who will continue to meet with you on a weekly basis until everything's settled, everything's cleared. A very kind of overview summary of our pricing. We do charge for that sandbox pilot. So we charge $495 for a 30-day pilot. We're committed to putting a lot of resources into that process to make sure that it's a good fit, to make sure you have all the information you need to make an informed decision. And then we credit this pilot towards the implementation. So the implementation will be another $4,500, and that's for configuration, setup, training, data imports start at $2,500. We have fixed fee imports for Sedona, Alarm Biller. Those are either $35 or $5,500, depending on what level of data you want to migrate over. And then our monthlies start at $750, but the monthly is between $65 and $95 for a full user. For most folks, it'll be $65 for a full user. A full user has access to the web and mobile, and $35 per user per month for the mobile only, generally your field technicians, and then integrations. This is my contact information. You can reach me by email is probably the best, and we can set up a Zoom. Feel free to go to our website. We also have a YouTube page that has a lot of customer testimonials and interviews. And now we have time for questions.
Okay, great job.
Thank you, Ken.
First question, Miles, since we developed our own central station automation system, what are the requirements for interfacing with your integration package? And is FieldHub mandated to be on the cloud, or can we have a modula that will run on our own equipment with paying a subscription fee?
So the first question, your central station automation, right now we've integrated with Mass, we have an integration with Stages that we're finalizing, and we're going to continue integrating with other software. We can integrate, if you have an API, we can integrate with that. We have an API, so it might be that your team would do the integration with us. There's nothing technically that prevents us from deploying to your hardware. FieldHub is a cloud-based product, but it is not multi-tenancy, so every one of our customers is in their own virtualized environment. That said, it would be quite a bit more expensive for it to be in your environment, because we would need to maintain it in your environment and set up the VPN security procedures and protocols. So it's possible, but we would have to have a long conversation about that.
he followed up with the RMR module. Can it handle multiple accounts, i.e. $39.95 to $2,500 with multiple levels in between? Something that we had an issue with our attempt to upgrade our existing package.
Yes, I mean, you can set as many RMR levels, and it's very flexible. You can create hundreds, thousands of RMR IDs that might be basic monitoring, complex monitoring, those types of different functions, cloud-based Brevo access control, door add-ons. So all of those are configurable, and it's flexible. We never run into an issue where somebody felt limited by that.
Does the application integrate with automation platform to achieve single point of data entry? If yes, which platforms?
Yes, so I think we answered that. That's what I demonstrated with affiliated. So that's Mastermind or Mass. And then, like I mentioned, we have stages, and we're also working on on Manitou and other central station automation software integrations.
Does FieldHub have an import process if we are currently on the alarm biller platform and want to transition? If yes, is there a cost for this service? Or
yes. Yes. So yeah, I understand. So yes, we have import scripts for MicroKey, Sedona Office, and Alarm Biller. We can take the data and import a large quantity of that data. And if you reach out to me, I can provide specifics on that. There is an additional charge for that. So in addition to the implementation fee, there would be a charge of generally between $3,500 and $5,500 for that data migration, depending on the specific data types that we're moving over. And all of that is on our pricing list, which I can share with candidates who are interested.
Are AIA billing forms included? Percentage of completion billing?
So we do not generate the AIA pay apps. However, we have implemented FieldHub with that in mind. So for instance, our progress billing is primarily quantity-based progress billing, so that pay apps can be generated off of those scope files where we can see what quantity was invoiced. We do have a procedure for retainage in the AIA structure. We do not currently have a procedure for material stored on site. We haven't found folks are generally using that aspect of the AIA format. But so generally, I would say yes, and we're getting closer every year.
I think you covered this. Is payroll included or integration to a payroll service?
Integration. So we're doing all of the payroll prep in FieldHub, and that includes not just the time tracking, it also includes any commissions, bonuses, PTO, all of that can be entered in FieldHub. We're doing standard rate labor costing in terms of the accounting approach, but then we would generate an export file which can go to Paychex, ADP, Gusto, whoever you're using, we can create an export filter. So you would export the payroll file from FieldHub, import it into Paychex, and run your payroll that way. So we're not actually doing all the state filings and such, but we are doing all the payroll prep.
Does FieldHub run a browser window, or is it a Windows application?
FieldHub is built
accessing data on your server.
Yeah, so it's a cloud-based application. You access it through a web browser using multi-factor authentication. You can have multiple monitors with the same views of FieldHub. So yeah, it's a pure web-based application. You don't need any servers. You don't need any Microsoft licenses. It is built for the cloud, and it is built using modern technology. So for instance, as a cloud application, if multiple people are trying to access the same account, FieldHub will show that account is currently locked because Ken is editing the account. So all of that is done in the cloud, but it's using modern technologies to kind of keep things in sync.
Can we import equipment price lists from manufacturers?
Yes, yeah. We can do it. We don't charge extra for that. So we have a template. You prepare whatever pricing data you want, and then we can import it upon request.
Can you import from QuickBooks?
No. QuickBooks does not have a strong structure for recurring revenue. It uses a memorized transaction, so there's no kind of concept of what that recurring is. We have templates that folks coming over from QuickBooks would generally use to prepare their data. On the accounts and jobs, that's pretty straightforward from QuickBooks. For the recurring, if you're using memorized transactions for QuickBooks recurring, it generally requires that you use our spreadsheet to kind of to clean up your data.
How do we get our data from current software?
That just depends on your current software. I mean, your data is your data, whether it's with us or someone else. So if you don't have access to export that data, then you would just request it from your vendor.
Do you happen to know whether there's been any difficulty getting it from other vendors?
Generally not. I have heard of some vendors trying to take the opportunity to request a long-term contract in order to support them to request that data. But again, it's your data. And if you have a vendor that's trying to keep you from getting access to that data, then that's a problem. Maybe there's some fee for it, but there has not been a problem.
Dealers might want to be mindful of that when entering into an agreement with the software providers. Might need counsel to that, just like you definitely need counsel when negotiating with a central station. Is integration with rapid response monitoring coming?
At some point, we don't have a timeline for it, but if you're interested in that, by all means, reach out to me and reach out to your contacts at Rapid to request it.
Does FieldHub integrate with ADI automatically to send a PO, or do we need to manually enter POs? What other distributions do you integrate with, such as Snap AV?
We do not integrate with those providers. FieldHub can generate, when you create a purchase order, FieldHub can automatically email it to an email contact for that particular vendor to simplify that process. And then we do work with Blackleaf Solutions, which is an industry provider that does automated updated pricing, and they do EDI with ADI and other distributors and manufacturers in the industry.
Do you integrate with alarm.com? Does the payroll? I think you said
alarm.com no, we do not currently integrate with alarm.com or any of the interactive providers. That is on our roadmap. And I would hope, I can't commit to it, but I would hope that we would be able to address alarm.com and SecureCom from DMP next year.
What data is migrated from Alarm Biller? What data is not? Will we need to get new credit cards updated?
So we support multiple credit card gateways so that you have some choices and you can get some competitive pricing. One of the gateways we support is Forte, which is used by Alarm Biller to the best of my knowledge, as well as Sedona. And we're able to migrate those vaults over. So no, for anybody who's using Forte for processing, we should be able to migrate those over without recollecting any of your credit card information. QuickBooks Intuit does not provide access to that information. They do not allow credit card to be migrated from provider to provider. So the answer would be no with QuickBooks, but yes with Forte. I forgot the first part of that question. Do you have that in front of you, Ken?
What data is migrated from Alarm Biller?
Okay, so there's a significant amount of data that's migrated from Alarm Biller that in terms of account, site, systems, recurring, service visits, and others. If you email me, I can send you a detailed list of exactly what's included at the $3,500 price point and at the $5,500 price point. The biggest difference between those price points is that we bring over the document libraries as well. And then we also, at the higher price, we also bring over open invoices and open payments.
Next question is about QuickBooks, and I think you already said you do not integrate with QuickBooks.
We do not. We would replace QuickBooks.
Right.
And certainly if your company is tightly integrated with QuickBooks and you don't feel comfortable leaving it, which makes total sense for some smaller companies, then we would not be a good fit for that if you want to continue with QuickBooks.
Is there, do you have anyone you recommend other than QuickBooks?
No, I'm sorry.
Any time
I
frame?
think to watch some of the other webinars this week, maybe I think there's some good options for folks who are committed to QuickBooks.
Any time frame for CMS integration?
No time frame. Again, we kind of prioritize the central station integrations. We just did our first one over the summer. Our second one will be this fall, which is Avant-Garde. And then based on feedback from customers, we'll prioritize those integrations accordingly.
Sounds like you got to get cracking integrating with these central stations, Miles.
Yeah, the first one's the toughest one. We have a plugin framework now, so we'll be adding them on a regular basis.
All right, get moving. Do proposals have the ability to offer options for multi-system segregation?
If I understand correctly, yes. When we did the scope of work, we can break it down into groups, and you can specify any of those groups to be an optional part of the scope of work. When you do that, then it'll present it to the customer as a price range. So if they ask for 20 cameras and we propose 25, those extra 5 cameras can be indicated as optional. So the customer sees a range without the extra 5 and with the extra 5, so that we can have a conversation with the customer as to why we have that range and not just be immediately dismissed because we're more than the other guys who just proposed the 20 cameras.
Can we have sub-account invoice to master account? Do you have any integration with Alarm? It says Alarm Win. I don't know if that's accurate.
I don't know Alarm Win. I'm not familiar with that. So the answer would be no, we don't have an integration. I don't know the specifics of your sub-account scenario, but we do have the ability to have parent accounts and sub-accounts. We do have the ability to send invoices based on some parameters. For instance, you can send it just to contacts associated with the site and an account. So there's certainly flexibility there. And reach out to me with your specific requirements and we'll hop on a Zoom and work through it.
And data be migrated over from Alarm 7?
No, we have folks who have moved from Alarm 7, but you would have to export your data and prepare it in our spreadsheet templates. And it's not that it's not possible, we could do it, but that's what's part of our standard pricing. If you wanted us to take your Alarm 7 database, we could, we would just be charging on a time and materials basis for that conversion.
Do you integrate with CBIS for automated paper invoices or anyone else?
We do. We integrate with lob.com, lob.com. That's something that you don't need a lob.com account. They're our provider, and if you use the printing, folding, and mailing service, it would go through them, but it would be built by us.
Have you transferred data from OPSI field service?
No.
What updates are on the horizon in the next 90 days?
Well, I mentioned the Avant-Garde. I don't know the exact time frame. I don't have it in front of me. And then we're also very focused on integrated e-signing, so that through the portal, customers will be able to review the scope, review your Kirschenbaum agreement, and e-sign that package. And we just met on this, but my head is full. So I'm happy to kind of go through some of those items in a one-on-one Zoom.
So some of you guys that we might not get to all the questions, make sure you take down Miles' phone number, his email, and harass him after the webinar. Are these features purchased modularly, or are they inclusive in the initial purchase?
So we are an all-in-one solution. So all of those modules are included. We don't break out the pricing, and they're all kind of fall into this monthly $750 per month. The exceptions are integrations, so there is a charge for third-party integrations, and then there are of course other charges for like the print mailing services. But most folks, if they're below a certain number, they pay that $750 per month.
What uptime SLA does FieldHub provide?
The agreement is 99.99, I think. I don't know. We'd have to double check. But in practice, over the past 2 years, we've had about 4 hours of unscheduled downtime. I think about 70–80% of that was after hours. So all of our customer data, we're in IBM's infrastructure. All customer data is replicated between 2 IBM data centers in near real time, so is duplicated, giving us a failover if that IBM data center goes offline, a kind of a warm failover. So we invest a lot in our development, our DevOps team. We have a dedicated DevOps team which is focused on deployment management and infrastructure management.
Miles, you're a fast talker in a good way, but you're gonna have to speed it up now. 5 seconds per answer, otherwise we're not gonna get all of them.
All right.
Payroll, can you handle prevailing wage and apply different rates accordingly?
We have a process for prevailing wage, but there's more work we're going to be doing in that area.
How is attrition handled?
We do, when RMR is terminated, you have to put a reason code, and that can flow into RMR roll forward reports.
Can you provide more details on your GL?
I can reach out and we'll get into the details.
Is there any future linking potential directly to ADI or any other major vendors?
Yes, look at Blackleaf Solutions. They're an industry provider for integrated pricing updates, and that's our current solution. I was working with them.
Are you looking to integrate with CMS? I hope the answer is yes, along with all the other central stations.
Yeah, all the top central stations are on our list, and we'll get to them soon. The more people come on board with FieldHub who request them, the faster those will get done.
Can you tell us about CRM, whatever that is? I don't know what that is.
Customer relationship management. So yes, you get a lead, they go into FieldHub, you track that opportunity, you create a proposal, deliver that proposal. So FieldHub is a full CRM.
How is sales tax tables updated, manual or automated?
They're currently manual.
Can we calculate commissions? Can a client sign proposals online and submit deposit payment?
So yes, online and to submit deposit payment once we've completed the e-sign implementation, which we're expecting probably early Q1. And short memory, Ken, what was the first part?
Can you calculate commission? Can a client sign
commission?
Proposal?
So no, currently we do not do commission calculation. We provide many reports that can be used for that. We've just found that people calculate commissions in so many different ways that for us to do it, it's just, we'd be chasing our tail.
Can you create custom forms? And they didn't add other than Kirschenbaum forms, which I know they meant to say.
With the e-signing, we'll support Kirschenbaum forms as well as some of your other custom forms.
In addition to proposals, is it possible to print the proposals for a customer to review hard copy?
Absolutely, yes. We generate a PDF of the proposal that you would then print or email.
What electronic signature vendors are able to be used with FieldHub?
We haven't made an announcement on that yet. We're working with a specific e-sign provider that is very price competitive with DocuSign. It's not DocuSign.
Okay, so it's going to be an electronic format, and you're not ready to disclose it yet.
Right, but we are working with the banks to make sure that it meets banking requirements.
All right, how are the e-signs done? What integration? I guess you're not ready to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Custom forms being methods of procedures, lightning, affidavits. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You know, you get your forms from wherever you get them, and then I guess FieldHub can deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, our e-sign is going to be focused on approving scopes of work, and initially.
Okay. Well, I hope he's going to integrate the Kirschenbaum contracts, although it's going to be your job, dealers, to keep them updated. You stated your monthly fee is $750. Are there additional licensing fees per user?
Yes, that is. I hate this, but it is. That's the starting at $750. So our monthly recurring fees per user are between $65 and $95 per user per month for your full users. Most of our customers will be at $65. The $95 is only for the largest. And your field techs are $35 per user per month. The $750 is the minimum for those user fees. So Once you get over 12, 13 people, then you start going above the 750 per month.
This is how many employees, and can you break down their responsibilities? I assume he's asking how many employees does FieldHub have?
FieldHub has about 45, between 40 and 50 employees. They're overwhelmingly on the R&D and product development team. We do monthly releases to our software, and so we're investing very aggressively in product development. And then the other part of the team is really product management and client services, customer success management. We have a sales department is 1.5 people. That's not our focus. Our focus is on successful implementations.
Can the forms with the mobile app have required fields?
No, they can have checkboxes, open text fields, and photos, but no, they cannot currently have required fields.
Okay, well,
and signatures.
We're a little out of time, and we're completely out of questions. So I want to thank everyone who signed on. Thanks for registering. Thanks for attending, and thank 90% of you who stayed on through the questioning. You can get all of the any other questions you might have right here from Miles. His email, phone number, more information on his website. And I want to thank Miles for getting the software webinar started. And I want to thank all of you for attending. And we're going to sign off now. And don't forget, you can watch this again and again and again at your leisure. Okay.
Thank you, Miles. Thanks, everybody. Bye.